Welcome in to College Football Smothered and Covered on this beautiful Monday morning. My name is Barrett Sallee. I appreciate you guys checking out this show. Going to start off the week with a really big show. We're going to start with Colorado and Deion Sanders. We're going to move to quarterbacks who might kill it and jump up in the NFL draft next year. We'll also talk a little bit about the transfer portal. So if you want to write a comment, let us know. Comments. You can, if you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, wherever, write a comment. Try to answer it throughout the show. But like I say every single show, please give us a 5-star review. Give us a 1-star review. Write something you like about the show on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or wherever. If you don't like something or if you want to see something change, let us know as well. The crew here will definitely try to look into some of your questions, concerns, and all of that. And like I say every single show, go listen to other podcasts on the Believe Network or watch them on YouTube. Go listen and watch Andy Staples on 3 or Josh Pate, Late Kick, a good buddy of mine. He has a great series with his coaching series, his speaker series that you can go back and look on. Go check out SEC Unfiltered, that SEC podcast, SDS, all that stuff. They do a great job. We want to be part of your college football ecosystem because college football is a very undercovered sport, very undercovered. And it's funny, I was watching SportsCenter. I rarely watch SportsCenter, but I was watching SportsCenter over the weekend, and there was like a 10-minute feature on how NBA players nap. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? How NBA players nap? I mean, look, I know you guys overpaid for the NBA contract, but you don't have to just find every single piece of content you possibly can. But that is where we are in terms of our mainstream media and the new media here for the college football world. We absolutely kill it. And we hope that you check out all of it because you deserve it. As college football fans, you absolutely deserve it. So it's been an interesting week in my world here in Atlanta with Michael Penix being drafted 8th overall on Thursday. And look, I'm not going to sit here and get too in-depth in the NFL draft, but it was the story of the weekend. It was the story of the NFL draft. And as a Falcons fan, I think I owe it to you guys for giving my opinion on it. The NBA still has a league, Brian Fernandez. No, yeah, it does. Apparently in the playoffs right now. I don't really pay much attention to it. But with Michael Penix, love the player, hate the pick. I said when the college football season ended, and you can look this up on Twitter and X, that I want Michael Penix in Atlanta. I said it, and I meant it back then. And look, I still kind of mean it now, but that was before all the Kirk Cousins stuff. And I understand that, Kirk Cousins, you sign him to a 4-year deal, but in reality, it's a 2-year deal. Yeah, there'll be a cap space hit or whatever. But why in the hell would you draft a player who's going to sit for 2 years, especially when you know you need defensive help? Now, they did address that later in the draft, and I love Ruka Rororo, the 2nd-round pick. But even that, it's almost like the Falcons forgot like how numbers work, that like they go sequential, and they got ripped off in that draft and that trade too. But look, to me, this is an Arthur Blank pick. He's the worst owner in sports. He meddles way too much. And to me, in my opinion, Arthur saw this shiny figure, this shiny diamond in Michael Penix, and rightfully so. The dude's awesome, and just had to have him. He had to have Kirk Cousins. They worked out Michael Penix that he had to have Michael Penix too. And I know there's that video of Terry Fontenot, kind of giving this whole little thing. And if you're listening and not watching, kind of giving the ladder, kind of looking like he's trying to explain to Arthur Blank why Michael Penix was drafted. I think it's the other way around. I think Terry Fontenot's trying to explain to Arthur Blank, okay, yeah, you did this. What we're going to have to do now is maneuver and trade up and move around a little bit to try to fill the actual need for the Falcons, which was, and I guess still is, edge rushing, defensive line, defense in general. So, I get it that, the Falcons are the butt of every joke. And as a Falcons fan, I think, we're trained to just sort of assume the worst is going to happen, but expect that the Falcons will find 2 steps below that. And the NFL draft is just a perfect example. Oh, by the way, and we talked about this on Sunday night on 11 Alive Sports Extra here in Atlanta, if you didn't catch it. Yeah, also last week, Matt Ryan retired as a Falcon. Do we not remember how that exit went down? It was not clean. So not a very, very good week or weekend for my Atlanta Falcons. Jason Stewart, I'm super curious on what the next MLB TV contract will be. I am too. They're going to have to get rid of these blackouts if they want to reach the younger fans. So if you have some comments, definitely leave them in the comments section wherever you're watching this live show. And it's 9:45 a.m. Eastern time. Of course, we're going to put it up on Spotify and Apple later on. You'll also catch it on YouTube or whatever. So definitely leave comments if you're watching live. Now, we're not going to talk about the 28-3 comment. That's just rude. So spring games, right? This is a college football show. Spring games. If you've listened or watched, you know I don't like spring games. I think they should be festivals and not actual practices, or actually games masquerading as practices, because coaches hate them. They don't get a whole lot out of them. Colorado had its spring game, and it's the most polarizing school outside of Notre Dame. And I'd argue that Colorado might be more polarizing this year. After what happened last year, it was almost like people wanted to either love or hate Colorado. The 3-0 start, there were people and there were people in our business who were like hopping on the bandwagon saying Colorado's going to make a bowl game or make a New Year's Six game. And there are people I respect in this business who were saying that. And I was like, dude, have y'all not paid attention? This Colorado team can't block. They couldn't block in the 3-0 start. And ultimately, they crashed back down to earth and were what I think a lot of us in this business who paid attention on a daily basis thought they were going to be: an improved team that has a lot left to accomplish, that is still really far away from being a contender. But they played over the weekend. And first things first, if you want to get a Colorado shirt, go to breakingt.com. This one that you see on the screen, Culture. You go to breakingt.com/smothered and covered. You can get those. They've got all kinds of Deion Sanders, all kinds of Colorado gear. So go check that out. But Deion Sanders, after the game, had a few quotes and had a few comments on where this program is. And he said this, and this is from ESPN. I know this year is going to be much better. We're in a fast-paced world. Everybody wants it to happen right now. People want to see him fail. This is Shooter. I see what people say about him. He knows, too. He keeps receipts. Well, yeah, he definitely keeps receipts. Trust me, Deion. Look, all coaches record and think and know what we say in this business. They say they don't, but they do. And I can't really show you my direct messages, but some opinions I had over the NFL draft weekend. Yeah, coaches see it and they will respond in direct message form. And if you're watching this and you send a direct message to me, Coach X and Coach Y and Coach Z, you know it. You'll never admit it. But Deion's polarizing because he's Deion, but in reality, he's still doing what he was hired to do. There was still a mass exodus, and we'll talk about one of those players over the weekend, but he's also got an influx of talent. Now, has it been high profile talent? No, but they've got offensive linemen. That's the one thing that they need most. And Shedeur Sanders, you see all these way too early mock drafts, and Shedeur Sanders is a first round pick in almost all of them, because he actually is that good. And I was my Sirius XM show on Sunday. Jeff Schwartz was with me, and we kind of talked about what Shedeur Sanders needs to do to get better on the show, because he's going to have to justify that first round grade. And we came to sort of an agreement that he's got all the talent in the world, but he's got to get the ball out sooner. And, you know, Jeff's a former offensive lineman, and I asked him, I was like, look, man, how much of that has to do with the fact that his offensive line was god-awful last year, and he was holding on to the ball just because it was almost impossible for a receiver to get open before he was getting hit? And Jeff said, yeah, that's part of it, but he still held it way longer than he should. The decision-making wasn't there. And yeah, that could be because he was rattled, but also it's part of his game that fundamentally needs to be fixed. I think it can be fixed this year, because it's not like they have to be incredible on the offensive line. They just have to be decent. Travis Hunter might be the first player drafted in next year's NFL draft. Yes, he's that good. He's not overrated at Colorado. In fact, I'd say he's underrated because he made that team competitive last year. I would say arguably more than Shedeur Sanders did. But the foundation is there for them to at least be a bowl team. Actually, not at least, be a bowl team. If they're a bowl team, that's another step in the right direction. I know Deion haters and Colorado haters will say, oh, he's not living up to the hype and all this stuff. Do we not remember where that program was when Deion took over? So if he can develop Shedeur into a first-round draft pick, because Shedeur was not necessarily a hot prospect coming out of high school. He was decent, but not a hot prospect. If he can develop Shedeur into a first-round draft pick with an offensive line that's still average at best, there will be so many people, so many transfer quarterbacks that give them a look. And in this quote, I think it's really interesting because they talk a little bit about how the offense changed. The offense did not adjust to the offensive line being an issue last year at all. And this quote this is from the article itself. It's not a quote from a player or coach, but this goes for quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who practiced and played the spring after fracturing his back at the end of last season. He's also spearheading the new offense under coordinator Pat Shurmur, one Shedeur describes as quarterback friendly. He's right. He gets to develop it in conjunction with Pat Shurmur. And that, to me, shows that Deion understands problems, addresses problems quickly, and will absolutely tailor them to his quarterback's strength. Because last year's offense was not tailored to Shedeur's strength, and he still made them damn near competitive in, 4 games that they won. Maybe not the others, but to me, I'm excited about Colorado. No, you don't take a lot from the spring game, but the moves that they've made this offseason from a coaching standpoint, and even going back to the end of last season, tell me that Deion gets it and that another step forward is in the works. Now, a problem, Dylan Edwards, who is the leading rusher, and I would say arguably one of the most important pieces of that roster last year, especially early on when they started 3-0, is transferring to Kansas State. That is a problem. They do not have a lot to work with at running back, especially for a guy like Dylan Edwards, who I would say was as much of a receiver, especially early on, as a running back. And to me, I don't know if this clears out anybody or anything, but there are still running backs out there, a lot of them in the transfer portal. Because remember, you just have to get in. You don't have to get out of the portal before the end of Tuesday. Tuesday. God, 30 days has April. 30 days has April. Yes, Tuesday. So to me, this sort of says, okay, yeah, maybe Colorado isn't the place for Edwards, but maybe Colorado has a plan. And maybe Dylan Edwards is not part of it. So we'll see. I think that the knee-jerk reaction to anything Colorado, anything players leaving is that, it's the bad culture, the culture, blah, 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 blah. No, it could mean that Deion just has a plan, and we're starting to see that plan come to fruition. I think it's the latter. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I still think it's the latter. Okay. The NFL draft wrapped up, and there were quarterbacks who jumped into the first round who maybe people didn't think would be first-round draft picks. I would say Michael Penix probably was a third-round pick going into his senior season, and obviously he jumped into the top 10, drafted 8th overall by the Falcons. Next year's draft class is not necessarily quarterback heavy, certainly not as much as this one. You're going to have Carson Beck. You're going to have Quinn Ewers. You're going to have Cam Ward, who, you know that I'm not the biggest Cam Ward guy. I think Jackson Dart's going to be in there as well. But there will be somebody who comes out of nowhere. There will be somebody who pops into all of these draft ratings where you're like, where the hell did he come from? And I'm going to make the pick who I think it is. I'm going to make a pick on the next quarterback who jumps into the first round. Who is that dark horse quarterback who comes out of nowhere to be a first-round pick? Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. He's going to come out of nowhere, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick. I love the kid. He's got a rocket arm. He's accurate deep downfield. He's more than just a willing runner. And he's got experience at wide receiver. To me, Brock Vandagriff has all of the pieces around him to be a superstar. Brock Vandagriff does not need to be a winner to be a first-round draft pick. All he's got to do is show that he's got the skills. Now, with that wide receiving core, he will. It's not like Drake May was in a system that would lead him to national success. North Carolina wasn't a contender. But NFL scouts loved Drake May. I didn't, but NFL scouts did. So all Brock Vandagriff has to do is impress a couple scouts, and he's golden. Brock Vandagriff has the arm. He's got the accuracy. He's got the legs that make him more than just a willing runner. He's in a system at Kentucky that I think will showcase his skills, and he's got a veteran wide receiver core. He will jump into the first round. And I know people are like, what are you talking about? It's going to be Jackson Dart. It's going to be Cam Ward. I think those guys are going to be there anyway. I'm talking about ultra dark horse. Ultra dark horse. Write it down in Sharpie. Brock Vandagriff will be a first-round draft pick next year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. I think I'm right about this one. Also interesting over the weekend. Before we get to that, let's hit the comment section, actually. Ryan Fernandez, Brock has a cannon. We all thought he looked better than Beck. I thought that he absolutely could have won that job last offseason. I think Carson Beck was sort of known to be the starter going into last year's spring practice, which is fine. And Brock Vandagriff got to learn in a great system backing up Beck last year, and I think he's ready to explode. Doug Harlow, what about DJU? Extreme sigh. I love DJU. I loved him coming out of college. I think he showed that he can be a star in that COVID year when Trevor was out with COVID, went to Notre Dame, set freshman records, lost the game, but set freshman records. I think when he got this job full time, they didn't tailor the offense to him. And he kind of mentioned that. He goes to Oregon State. I think the success he had maybe is not appreciated as much as it should have been. Because other than Damian Martinez, who you saw the graphic, we're going to talk about him in just a second, they didn't really have anybody else. Florida State's got talent. Yeah, a lot of their pieces left, but they've still got talent there, especially at the running back spot. Tuafili's very good. Take some pressure off of DJU. So I like him. Is he going to show scouts that he has enough? I don't think so, because it would have to be a ton of success this year because the tape is already there. And to me, scouts will go back. I mean, hell, if scouts will go back and criticize Spencer Rattler for a high school Netflix special, they'll go back to DJU's Clemson days and nitpick those too. So I like DJU. I like him, but I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. Who might be a first-round running back is his former teammate, Damian Martinez, transferring to Miami from Corvallis. I don't think we're recognizing how big this actually is, because Damian Martinez is an NFL caliber running back. He showed it at Oregon State, and now he's going to Miami, where they needed a running back because of the transfer. They lost two players. They lost their leading rusher, and they lost another freshman who was supposed to be a contributor to the transfer portal. This was, I think, now clearly part of Mario Cristobal's plan. Because when you, in a vacuum, look at a player who's transferring away, and we're like Dylan Edwards at Colorado, you're like, okay, the culture is a problem. but maybe that's just the first part of a plan. So Damian Martinez to Miami is huge for Cam Ward in that offense because they do have receivers. And as you guys know, I'm not the biggest Cam Ward guy, but now he's got a superstar running back and they can protect. So I'm not going to get into this Miami is back thing, right? I like Miami. I do think they're closer to the fourth or fifth best team than they are to Clemson and Florida State in the ACC. But that gap just got a little smaller. Lost in all of the stuff that happened over the weekend. Kind of hidden by the NFL draft. Kind of hidden by Colorado in their spring game. And even Nebraska's spring game. Was the fact that Miami just got incrementally better. Playoff caliber team? No. New Year's Six bowl caliber team in the old traditional sense? On the doorstep. Sitting there knocking on the doorstep. Like my FedEx delivery driver dropping off my Home Chef meal every single Sunday. That's where Miami is right now. That's how big this move is. And we'll wrap things up real quickly. It was awesome to see Dylan Raiola light it up in the Nebraska spring game. And, you know, I love Matt Rule. You guys know I love Matt Rule. And it's clear that this was designed to give Nebraska fans hope. And that's all they want. Nebraska fans, they're just craving success. Are they going to be successful in the new look Big Ten? It's going to be really, really hard. Is Matt Rule the right guy for the job? Absolutely. Does the success on the recruiting trail matter? Yes. Especially since Raiola lit it up. I just love to see that. I love Nebraska fans. I feel bad for Nebraska fans. I want them to be happy. And even if it's a spring game, that satisfaction they had Saturday night, I should say, and even into Sunday, and probably right now as some are watching. And one is a loyal caller to College Sports Sunday on SiriusXM. Congratulations. I'm happy for you guys. I just want you guys to be a bowl team. I just want you guys to close it out. Stop losing close games. I think you got the right guy in Dylan Raiola. That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys commenting. DJU isn't that good, says Ryan Fernandez. He's pretty good. We'll see. But almost 1,000 of you across all platforms watching right now. Really appreciate it. Spread the word. Give us 5 stars. Give us 1 star. Write a review. Positive, negative, doesn't really matter. We want to be part of your rotation. I think the success that we've had shows that for a lot of you, we have become part of your rotation. And let me tell you, after we had 3 coaches on last week and then another at Lashley on the week before that, there will be many, many more. You will see many coaches, a lot of very interesting and successful coaches come on this show, especially after the portal window closes here in a couple days. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.